and to clear any questions we may have. For today's Wednesday Cafe, we have with us Mr. Nandakishor M, CEO of Convai Innovations and an AI teacher at Udemy. He's a skilled professional and has expertise in machine learning, deep learning, and research. He will give you a better understanding of ChatGPT today. Welcome, sir. We are happy to have you here with us. Over to the speaker.
Okay, great. So, hold on a minute.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, so some network problem in here, so let me correct that. Okay, so it's great to meet you guys to discuss more on the ChatGPT stuff. The word is going buzz. I think myself actually let me introduce myself firstly. So going to that, my name is Nandakishor. I'm a Udemy AI teacher as a data scientist, and currently I'm CEO and managing director of Convai Innovations Private Limited, which is a AI metaverse startup working on healthcare sector. And so currently we are currently focusing on the healthcare sector, how to introduce these metaverse AI into this healthcare industry. So currently that we are building is something more on the on customer basis, on implementing this kind of technology into this conventional healthcare system. So our company is actually currently supported by IIT Palakkad Technology IHF Foundation. So we are currently a kind of incubated over there on Palakkad. And so myself, I actually have started working on deep learning, large language models during my third year of BTech. So I completed my BTech in Government College of Engineering, Kannur. GC you may heard that name. So myself, I actually got into electrical engineering, so not on the CS part. So going to that, it's kind of tough job to go into something on deep learning, AI, and everything. You have to start from beginning. You have to code. You have to know code, how to do programming on Python, etc. So self-learning is the one thing that I've done. So during my third year, I gone to resources from YouTube or maybe on GitHub. There's Kaggle is there. So couple of resources are there. So I didn't enroll into any certification courses or something like that. Just go on with the flow, learn something on the internet, then get into this deep learning kind of thing. So, and myself, I'm not a computer science background. I'm actually a bioscience student. So, and after that, graduating from Kannur Engineering College, I have started another company. That's my first company called 𝘱𝑓low Technologies Private Limited, which is an agri-tech company working on AI. And after exiting that company on 2022, started this Convai Innovations. The name itself is actually very interesting. So my passion is on going to this conversational AI. So combine this conversational AI, what you get is Convai AI. So that's the name itself is the passion towards the large language models. These kind of large language models like ChatGPT that you guys all familiar with, and need to explore this ChatGPT's potential to your benefits and understand this kind of technology in a more in-depth way. That's why you guys join this meeting. So without further ado, I'm gonna explain what I'm gonna talk in this actually in a 1 hour period. So first we will look into this ChatGPT's architecture, how it actually works in a peripheral view and also somewhat in-depth view. And you may also experimented something on the ChatGPT itself, doing some exercises like assignments or something over your project's ideas, maybe brainstormed over there, or maybe homeworks provided by your professors or maybe teachers. You can also do that on the ChatGPT. And there's a couple of other things that you can also, if you're running a business, or maybe if you are willing to go for an entrepreneurship pathway. So there's a lot of potential is in there in this ChatGPT and kind of AI sector right now. So so let's see. Let's first I'm gonna show you what we are doing on this industry right now. So this is Convai Innovations. What we are doing is connecting doctors, physiotherapists, and almost all doctors with patients from their house itself. So extending this telehealth concept to a next level where your avatars can meet with the avatar of doctor, and that's my avatar, and that's high fidelity avatar, which myself I'm actually worked on game development. This app has been developed by myself. So it's developed on Unreal Engine. So you may have heard of Unreal Engine. That's a engine behind PUBG. So the PUBG game has been developed on Unreal Engine. So we developed the app on that. And this is one application called Convai Health. And this is the interesting part. We are part of the IIT Palakkad. We are part of NVIDIA Inception. And this one is the AI VR assistant that we have made around 2 years back, which is called as QT. And probably it's actually shut down the server right now, so it's still here. You can just go onto the website and click on, say, in here demo. You can head on to this website where you can chat with the chatbot. But the interesting part is you can even talk with him. So it has its own gestures, speech, text to speech is there. It's going to interact with you. Probably it's not going to work right now, so some sorting has to be done. So probably I'm going to make it happen in this, during this conversation. So let's see. So this is next generation of the NPCs or intelligent AI system where you can interact with this kind of AI avatars in your home, like a companion, and talk with it, interact with it. It has its own personas. And this is a newer concept in modern technology, where an interactive avatar, interactive 3D avatar can interact in a human way, not like a simple Google Assistant mode, but more in like an intelligent AI like Jarvis. If you're a Marvel fan, you may know Jarvis. And so that's it. That's the idea behind what we are building. So this is our overall idea. And we have another application called 𝘨𝘀, which is a Android application available on Play Store. This is for the deaf community where they can do the navigation. Where the camera app, it's kind of a camera app. You just open this camera, and the app will say how much distance an object within that camera. Say a laptop within 30 centimeter. When you're getting close, it's say 20 centimeters. So it's integrating with AI, Edge AI. So this is another application that we have built. And this is our idea of what we are building right now. So going to our main topic, ChatGPT. So if you have seen here, our model is actually 2.7 billion parameter language model. But ChatGPT is way more than that. It's almost probably 200 billion parameters. So I'm going to explain what this parameter is all about, and over the course of this meeting. So let's head on to this presentation. So let's see. So I think probably some of you, let me turn off the camera. Okay. You can see my screen, right? Can anyone confirm?
Yes, sir.
Am I audible, right?
Yes.
Right. So generative pre-trained transformers, that's the GPT means chat. It's just chat. And combining chat with GPT, generative pre-trained transformer. So what is this term is all about? So how does this ChatGPT actually works? So this is a very higher level concept of what actually it's doing it. So we have actually I worked on the back end side of I worked on the front end side and also the back end side of QT. So there has 3 steps of developing a language model and deploying into, hold on a minute. Okay, so pardon me on that. Okay, so GPT. So what exactly this concept is all about? It's not a simple Google Assistant. It's not a simple chatbot that you're seeing on most of the websites bottom corner. It's not a simple rule-based chatbot. It was trained on a lot of data set, including scientific forums, scientific papers, codes. So it's behind the GPT has been introduced by OpenAI. It's a company which is actually invested by Elon Musk, and after that he became the co-founder of that company. And so they are working on large language models for almost, I think, probably more than 4 years right now. And they introduced GPT-3 and GPT-2 is there. GPT-2 is already available on the as an open source language model. GPT-3 has been there for an API for almost 2 years right now. So what exactly it's doing is it's training a large language model, a kind of an algorithm, and it's making an AI model. It's AI model is kind of a file. You can say it is a kind of a file, and it's trained on social media data sets, Reddit data sets, Facebook data is there, Twitter data is there, and there are plenty of scientific forums, codes, GitHub codes, and probably a lot of other data that I'm not familiar with. There's a lot of hidden data is also there, and it's training a large language model. So what we call as a transformer-based architecture, and you get a model. So this model has been deployed on NVIDIA 100 GPUs. So it's called as a beast, what we call as beast kind of GPUs, not a typical or simple GTX 1080 or GTX 6050. It's more than that. It's powerful language. It's powerful GPUs from NVIDIA. So they have around 7 GPUs. So they're using the Microsoft Azure network. Azure is the Microsoft Cloud's platform, and this model are running on their cloud, and the API has been put into this website. So after inspecting the website, they are using Next.js. So it's a JavaScript framework. So they just calling that that API, that's cross-platform API on the Next.js application, and getting the output. So this prompt, that what you are querying into it, and you're getting an output out of it. So this language model is running on a data server, which is a GPU-based server, not a simple CPU server. So our model actually running on one of the A10 GPU. A10 has a 24 GB graphics card, so we are using A10, not A100. So, but they are using around 7 A100 GPUs, more than 300 GB of VRAM VRAM is utilizing, which means it's a kind of a beast. So it may require a lot of money to spend. So that's why Microsoft Azure has been invested a lot of money into it. So billion dollar has been pumped into the OpenAI. So this is the overall concept behind the OpenAI's ChatGPT. So the architecture. So going to the architecture, it's there's if you look into it, there are 6. Probably you can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there is another. In the end, you get an output. So the first one is the input encoding, positional encoding, self-attention layer, feed forward layer, normalization, and you're getting an output. So this is the overall architecture of a transformer. So transformer is what we call a self-attention architecture. So I'm going to explain what that transformer architecture as simple as possible. I don't know how much simpler I can get. So say you have to. It's all about text generation. So what you are giving input to this language model, it's getting an output as a text. So the input is a text and an output is a text that we called as a text generation AI language model. And the first layer is actually, it's very interesting. It's not self-attention layer, pardon me of that. It's not self-attention layer, input encoding. So just look into this one. It's not self-attention, it's input encoding. So let me correct that. Some of you have problem over there. It's encoding. Back to that. So the encoding layer. So the input encoding and also position encoding. So encoding is one thing, very simply speaking, we have to convert whatever text to a machine readable format. So machine cannot read your text. So it has to be converted to what we call as vectors or in general tensors. So let's stick on to the vector part, not go on to the tensor one. So tensor is a multi-dimensional matrices are called as tensors. I'm not going to explain all these text diagrams in here. So going to that, there's an encoding layer. So the encoding layer, first, say we have an input called the cat sat on that's it, the cat sat on the. So first we have to do is we have to identify the position of the cat and also position of all the other words. So first we have to do is tokenize these things. That's splitting these words into individual components. They're splitting the sentence into individual components like the cat sat on. And we have the important thing is you have to, the concept of self-attention and kind of thing is to identify this priority of each sentence. So the cat sat on the means the important part is the cat. So the sat on the doesn't matter, what exactly matter is the cat. So that's the idea behind a self-attention based transformer based model. So first we have to understand this concept where you have to give priority to certain words. So that's the core thing that you have to understand. Prioritizing certain words in a sentences. Okay. So the first thing you have to do is tokenize the input. Tokenizing is splitting the input sentences, the sentence to individual tokens, which is in this case would be the cat sat on and the last one. And the next one is map each token to its corresponding embedding vector. So the embedding vector is kind of a mathematical representation of that each of the words in a vector value, a kind of a matrix, say a matrix. So in general, it's a tensor, so you can say a vector. So it's you have heard of vectors and matrices during your computer plus two, or you are currently engineers, right? Engineering students, you may have heard of this one. So the cat sat on the means each of these words have been replaced with a number and put into a bracket, and it's kind of a vector right now. So the embedding vectors have been defined. Now the embedding vectors has to combine with the positional encoding. So the positional encoding is what these important words or every words have their position onto it. So each word has their own position on the sentence. So this has to be mapped to a machine readable format, which means each of these sentences has to be there on the position. So if you mapping to a machine readable format, the cat sat on the should be that form itself. It should not be sat cat on the. So it has to be that format. So positional encoding has to be done in order to make a vector that gives the position of each of these individual tokens. So this encoding vector has to be combined with the positional encoding vectors to get a new vector. So I think you guys are following with me. You just have to combine the embedding vector with the positional encoding vector to get a new vector. And this new vector is the important part. This new vector gives the position of that word and how much important is that word is all about. Okay. So this thing if you look at the fourth part, so that we combine these two vectors together. So once the input sequence has been encoded, we can use the transformer model to generate new text based on this context. So this one is actually coming after we combine this vector together. So the position has to be identified, and the embedding vector has to be done, and combine this together. You get that input to be fed to this. Okay. The next part, that is the self-attention layer. So the self-attention layer is simple, where the cat sat on the has to be understand that the cat sat on the priority goes to the cat part. So the cat has to have more weight, and more weight means a number with bigger value. So what you doing is just giving the value to the sentence. So value is kind of a priority. So if you just broadly just look into the cat sat on the sentence, the cat has to be having higher value. So we are giving attention to the cat token. Token means a split word. So that's the part that the self-attention layer is doing. It's giving a score, comparing with other words. That's comparing with the sat, on, etc. And everything has to be combined in kind of a permutation and combination manner. So it has to have a particular score onto it. So if you following with me, you can say the cat should have the higher value. And after that, there's a feed forward layer. So I'm not going to explain that's in here. It's just applying a linear transformation and a rectified linear unit as and after that, an activation function. That's a non-linear activation function. That's a ReLU is applied. That's rectified linear unit function applied to it. And then comes the normalization layer, just normalizing these inputs. Normalizing is kind of cleaning this stuff to say in a broader way, you can say that. So it has to, in kind of a normalization has to be done. Then comes the output, that's giving a softmax function, that's getting the probability distribution of the output. So just in a broader way, you can say when you're giving an input to the model, the model, the ChatGPT, look into the sentences. Which sentence you have. If you're giving a query to the ChatGPT, first it will look into which word has to be given to the priority. So in this case, it's cat. So if you are querying something, if you are giving a prompt, it will look into this. It will look into your prompt. Then it identify the higher weighted values token, that's giving each of these tokens a particular score. Higher the score, better has to be the attention. So that fed to the, that token has then gone to the language main self-attention layer, and just after that it predict the output. So that's happening in the output layer itself. So this is the overall concept, self-attention. So if someone asks you what is self-attention means in a transformer, it's very simply giving attention to certain sentences. So say if you're, let me give another example. Say you are giving a prompt, something like, I am traveling to Delhi. So Delhi has this priority. That's the token has to have a higher value. So it has to have the higher attention. So the model is trained on a large data set. So which means this attention output, the Delhi part, is emphasized on the model and just generating on top of it and create a better output on completing that sentence. So whatever query that you're giving, it will understand the query, then it will generate sentences according to your query's attention mechanism. So just go on to use cases. Okay. So there are plenty of use cases. I think most of you guys are familiar with these use cases. Academic assignments. This is question papers answering for the academic purposes. So the business purposes is content writing, reframing sentences to professional, business model projection planning, email writing, CV, job description preparation. There's a whole lot of thing that you can do in ChatGPT itself. So let me show you some of the examples that you can even do when you're making some emails or something. I myself use it a lot of time for reframing certain sentences. So most of the time, I make grammatical mistakes. Say something like create a job description for a programmer. Sometimes it happens. Or only thing you have to do is just refresh the thing, just copy the sentence, then refresh it. So if you are a business, you can create job description, or if you are a student, you can also create your CV. Great. So similar way, you can even create your CV for that. So let's change. And JavaScript, Kotlin, Node.js. Great. So I think most of the important thing has been covered in this CV itself. So this is for you creating a CV. Say if you are in a final year project, say probably you are some different computer science is there, electrical is there, electronics is there. Say you have to make a image classification model. Say so most of them are working. I think probably working on a project on computer vision or maybe on language models or anything. Say they write an on developing an image classification model detect um, in, test in a plant using architecture. using TensorFlow. So already you have a already trained model. This is for a code for inference. Say on train. Let's say let me simply explain this kind of thing, but exactly the model is doing. So it's already explained, it's still there. Okay. So what it's actually doing is creating, I mean, this existing model is there. You have a label map is there. It's including the best names or something like that. Just creating a TensorFlow. Input tensor is there, output tensor is there. Just initializing the graph, static graph, then inferencing that image to this model, then getting the output and send the output. That's it. Just you can even Python script, not Python script, TensorFlow, say a script. That's a JavaScript library for TensorFlow. That's direct integration on your website. So if you are familiar with JavaScript, that's very simple. You just have to copy paste this code. So what it's actually doing is, like I said, it look into your query, identify fed into a input encoder, position encoder, then self-attention layer. That's the part. The whole architecture, including the input encoder, position encoder, also the self-attention layer, feed-forward layer, normalization, and the output layer. This parameter has been changed. So I'm just giving a simple understanding of transformer architecture for the generating pre-trained transformer, then like ChatGPT, trained on millions and millions of data sets. So it has a pre-trained transformer model existing on the server. When you querying it, first it will do is use this architect. I mean, understand this text, input text, and giving the priority to each of the sentences that you're giving. That's I've said that giving the scores. I mean, that's image classification. You have to do image classification. Have used TensorFlow.js in an SSD mobile net architecture. So each of these sentences say, I'm just giving it, saying it, but it's maybe correct, maybe not. So each of these words has to have its own weights or scores. Maybe this one has a higher score. Maybe this one has a lower score. Maybe this one has a middle score, something like that. Each of them has its own core values, and the higher the value, higher the priority. And it then using that priority, using the existing trained model, it will generate text out of it. So getting these priorities is very important. So that's what the training is all about, and the corpus of data set is very much needed, since higher the data set, higher the order of generating text to accurate text generation has to be something like that. So that's the idea behind. So well, if you want to know more about the ChatGPT architecture, you can just ask ChatGPT, explain ChatGPT architecture and how it works. 13-year-old. That's the interesting part. This is important part that I have said. When you type a question or a statement to ChatGPT, the program first tokenizes it, splitting each of these words, then breaking down your input into small pieces like words and punctuations. That's what the encoding layer doing. Positional encoding, combining positional encoding with input encoding. Then it uses the neural network to analyze the tokens. That's what the self-attention layer is doing. Predicting the output is what the output layer is doing. In between the feed-forward layer and normalization is a process of cleaning this kind of input, say cleaning kind of input. So the output layer predicts what the next comes from the already trained training data. So the self-attention layer has its own parameters, and each of the parameters have been fine-tuned when you train this model. So what we call as training is a gradient descent, finding the local minima, and there's an stochastic gradient descent that the STDs are used for training these models. So I'm not going to explain it here. If you have another section, we can explain it in details. So that's the important part. So this is for Python, JavaScript. Say if you can write, even if you're a game developer, you can go for writing a simple code for moving a cube on C#, Unity. You can write that, even it can be generated. Another business use case for the business people, another use case is creating your projections, like a 6-month plan for your product. And say if you are building something like a simple as say you have a SaaS business, say I have my company build have a company across building an Android and iOS application clients for India. I just want to expand it to other countries, say how it actually is there. Meantime, you can also write, give me like a business model or quarters. Say, so 1 year. Currently, the ChatGPT is kind of free right now, and there have been pro version is coming there. There's a couple of US countries has that. I mean, Germany's already have this feature. A couple of US, I think US has already has the feature of going to a pro version. You have to pay some amount. And other examples, you can even say if you are a dietitian, say you are focusing on your diet, make a diet for 23 or let me see. So this is an example of a business model that you have to adopt when you are going for, say, building a business model for 1 year, including projections. If you this is a projection is a kind of numbers that you're getting when you're building a financial plan. You have a fixed, I mean, the number says it all. So the other thing when it comes to making a business model where you have to go for the revenue streams, cost structure, key activities, KPIs have to be defined, and everything. These key KPIs have been defined in I think on 6, 7, 8, and also the revenue, cost, profits, clients, etc. These are the numbers as a projection part. So back to this one. Make it add for me if I'm a 24 guy doing business in software, and I am outside. No. Great. So the DAG has been there. So if you have some doubt on your academic, you have a question, you can do that. I think if you are, I think probably you guys are TKT students, right? So the previous year question paper, you just take your previous year question paper, copy paste the answer. I mean, copy paste the question to this one, and the answer will be given. So you try that. You just download previous year question paper and do that. Say, let me give you an example for that. Compensator. This is actually for, I mean, every damn homeworks can be done. Every, I mean, everything can be done, even when you have homeworks. I think a lot of things can also be done. Even you can summarize your PDF, as I've done that, and create an introduction to your project. Say you're building a, say like that, you're building an image classification model, something for pest detection. You can type an introduction to image classification to say, maybe let me write an abstract image classification to identify it's still writing. I think the slow writing has happened due to network issues. If the network is fast, I think probably it's gonna create much faster. I'm still audible, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there's an example for how you can, probably do every homeworks on your college homeworks, college assignments, even your programs, everything you can do it. I think probably every programs have been supported, even Java, JavaScript, C++, C, Go, or Ruby, or MySQL, or from probably every languages. Even it can do it. So it trained on. I think probably it's due to the acquisition of support by Microsoft. GitHub is acquired by Microsoft. So that means every code that you guys are uploaded on GitHub can be accessed by OpenAI. So it trained on Copilot dataset. So Copilot is already introduced, I think, a couple of years back for programmers to create code by just typing text. It's like, so this is something for your projects. Write an abstract on, say, okay, so the use cases are a lot in businesses and everything you can, the programming, creating a CV, creating a job description for your company. If you're going looking for jobs, if your company is hiring people, you can make a JD for your company, and the opportunities are quite high. So it's only the imagination that you have to be put forward, and I think probably anything that you can be asked, and the answers will surprise you. I think there's no limit to imagination. You can write a mail. Let me give some of the examples. Writing a mail, even replying to a mail, creating project summaries, summarizing a PDF, summarizing your document, a doc file. Like I explained earlier, if you have your previous year question paper, just copy paste each of the questions to this chat. You can create a new chat, name it your question paper year. Just copy paste the question and just paste it here, and it will explain and answer it like a human being. So that will help you guys a lot. And as if you are like a lazy guy like me, so you can do learning in just before the examination. So if you're a business like a guy learning everything on before the examination, the day before the examination, you can use this one to get previous year question. I think that will actually help most of the guys. So the pattern is some similar. Most of the teachers, I think, don't go for creating questions from scratch. They will definitely look into previous year question, and I think it's enough to get you passed, to get any kind of noise, but it will help you to pass your examination just by copy pasting download the previous question from KTU banks or KTU notes, and probably took an 19 batch doesn't have this feature yet. I think they are the one that doesn't have this useness yet, because they are the one. The first batch. The coming guys have this golden opportunity of getting these answers in a human-like manner. Okay, so that's it. That's it, guys. So if you have any doubts or something like that, you can ask. anything regarding transformer-based architecture, or how you can use it, or something like that?
If anyone's having any questions or doubts, you may ask now.
But one of the
Sir, in your opinion, is ChatGPT is a good or a bad technology?
it's a wonderful technology. It's good. It's wonderful one, and probably helps a lot in people, even content generation. Even you can you're a YouTuber or Instagram. If you
Yeah,
can make an
that's fine.
Instagram post.
I'm not asking that way. So consider if you are a programmer and you are asked to create a TikTok game. So an average person who doesn't know programming can also do that using ChatGPT. So thinking about in that way, like it is a threat to skill or something.
No. Actually, the important thing is if you are a programmer, uh, a hardcore programmer, it's not a snippet of code that's defining you as a programmer. It's the understanding of managing your colleagues. There's a team of people working on a single project, and ChatGPT is a kind of a tool. You have to use it properly. That's in your brain. So which prompt you have to give, that's the interesting thing, that the prompt engineers are coming up. Post is most of the companies are kind of hiring these guys called as prompt engineers. They are the guys that's giving this idea of getting the exact input to this chatbot that gives the exact output. The desired output. So I think it's a coding and the programming kind of thing doesn't. It won't go. Just a tic-tac game. It's not enough for a company. So they need full stack developer, multi stack developers, Android developer, iOS developer, who are skilled in Swift, even Android, Kotlin or Java or on Flutter or JavaScript or Node.js or Next.js. So so this is like a just like a Copilot. Copilot is, you are familiar with Copilot. It's similar to what ChatGPT is, but it has charge. ChatGPT is free, so that most guys are using it. But it's the similar thing. It's a ditto of the Copilot. So I think it's not an existential threat to programmers. As far as I concerned, it's a threat to the content writers, even guys who are even giving consultation to other companies. They have the job securities is kind of in a risk mode right now. So programmers won't have that problem. It's a it's a tool for them, not a replacement for programmers.
Yeah, okay. Like some people suggest that like we are giving training to AIDS and there may be a moment like it become a threat to humanity. What is your opinion about that?
It won't become a threat to humanity. It will enhance the human potential. I think, say, the boring jobs. We need to do this kind of boring jobs when the robot can do it. But unless and until we have to have the threat, you have to control within our control, and probably we don't give every access to AI. So at the, as far as I know, it's not a threat, and probably it's not going to threat for coming future. I think it's not going to happen.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Right? Anyone has any other doubt? Let me. I'm actually more on in IG right now, Instagram. So most of the things I've been even uploading into LinkedIn and Instagram. I think most of you guys have Instagram and LinkedIn. So let me share my LinkedIn and Instagram to the comment section. So let me hold on a minute. is my IG handle. And you guys, if you want, you can follow me. And also, I'm going to share my LinkedIn. So catch up with me. I'm actually giving a course, a free course on LinkedIn. So it's already started. It's understanding transformer architecture. So it's kind of a series, that's ongoing series, including getting understanding the architecture behind this wonderful language model. So it's kind of a ongoing series. So I just covered input and coding right now. So there's a lot of things have to be covered: positional encoding, self-potential layer, feed-forward network. So a lot of have to be covered. So I think if you just connect with me, we can learn forward, I think. Good. So if anyone has any other doubts, including the architectures or maybe, so the thing is that you have to understand this concept in order to get an edge on people. I think if you have to be competitive, you have to have something unique, right? If you understand this kind of complex architectures, transformer architecture, that's your value. So it separates you from other not so knowledgeable guys who talk about this kind of ChatGPT. So that's why I've covered the transformer architecture in somewhat in an understandable way, but it's not that much of a simple thing. It's relatively complex. So if you understand that thing, that's a wonderful value to your CV and everything. And my suggestion is, don't go for a lot of certification. Just learn it by self. You can learn it on Google. I think probably on the ChatGPT itself. I don't recommend going for everything for ChatGPT. Probably it covers most of the ideas and everything. So if you have a direct question, just ask to it. Even programming questions, you can just copy paste your program and correct the code. So that's very interesting. I think that I cannot be shown in here because it may take some more time. We don't have that much time. So even your program can be easily corrected just by copy pasting your existing program to the ChatGPT and saying you have to correct this code on this line. And you don't have to say, just correct it and it will correct the code for you. That's a wonderful thing to do also. Okay. So if anyone has any other doubts, you can just ask me.
Any more doubts? You can ask now. Okay, I guess no one is having any doubt. So let's conclude today's Wednesday Cafe. Nandakishor sir, on behalf of everyone here today, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. Your insights on ChatGPT was fascinating and informative. We could learn a lot of new things, especially the architecture, use cases, and thank you for demonstrating the different ways we can use ChatGPT and showing us its effectiveness. As a small token of our appreciation, we would like to present you a small virtual memento. I invite Yasim to share the screen. Please accept it with our sincere thanks, sir.
Thank you very much.
Once again, thank you so much for that entertaining and enlightening presentation. I also thank all the attendees who attended today. We have shared a feedback form in the chat. Please fill it to receive the certificates.
Okay. And one more, guys, don't go for the certificate, just go for the knowledge. Okay.